Ladies and gentlemen, it is D-Day for the Premier League and not Manchester City, because I believe the ramifications for the Premier League are much bigger than the ramifications for Manchester City if we were to be found guilty, which I have every belief that we will not be found guilty. But if we are, the ramifications will be big. Absolutely. Relegation is a very likely outcome for that situation. But the ramifications for the Premier League, how do you rectify that situation? The product of the Premier League would almost become unrecognisable. It would be damaged beyond recognition. An absolute disaster class from the Premier League this would prove to be, and this could be the second biggest day in Manchester City's off-the-field history, and this is why you subscribe to Typical City if you haven't already, because I'm about to deliver an education that you don't get elsewhere, because this is the second time, and this will not be the first time, Manchester City have stood up in the face of an evil organisation, and I only need to point you back to 1937 when Manchester City were the champions, first time ever, and this little club without history. 1937, Manchester City were champions of England, and we had to head to Berlin to go on a tour to celebrate our success, and we were invited over to Germany, and we reportedly had an obligation to hold our hands in the air and provide the Nazi salute, and all of the Manchester City players said, no, we are not doing it. We will come and play football in your country. We will be respectful, but we will not be holding our hands in the air. During that friendly, during the German national anthem, there were only 11 arms that went up in the air on that pitch, and none of the Manchester City players stuck their hands in the air to fight that organisation and say no to the Nazis. And we're saying no today to the Premier League. We are saying no to your charges. All 115 charges, no. We're going to turn them down, and we're going to reject them, and we're going to fight them, and we're going to beat you. That's what Manchester City do. We've been doing it for some time now, and we do not stand down in the face of an evil organisation like this. We are not afraid of you. We are not afraid, and we will fight you as long as it takes. And this is what Manchester City are getting started today, but you have to get used to the idea that there are going to be some rumours, Manchester City fans. There are going to be some nasty rumours that are going to be generated in the media following this. And I only need to remind you that this is an independent commission, and the hearing will be held behind closed doors. But expect rumours. You can expect them. There's going to be a lot of circulation around Manchester City's case, but no one has access to the actual information. And until the official announcement is made, they're all conjecture. Everything you hear from either side, City are innocent, City are guilty, the Premier League have done this, the Premier League have done that, all of it will be conjecture. Made up, hearsay is all it will be. You only need to look at the fact that Manchester City's Kitman, Brandon, big up to Brandon, by the way, who's been at the club for 15 years. He today picked of all days to pack it in at Manchester City and move on. The Kitman is jumping ship, apparently, at Manchester City. Poor little Brandon picked today to announce his departure of Manchester City, and of course the Kitman's in on it. Of course he's in on it. He knows all the financial shenanigans that Manchester City have been up to. So he's on his way out and jumping ship just before that ship sinks to the bottom of the ocean, or to the bottom of the football pyramid, you could say. But I mean, I only need to point you to my playlist. And I've got a playlist that has been going on for years now. I've been talking on this subject on this channel for over a year now, well over a year. So big up to everyone that subscribed and watched all those videos. I strongly recommend you go and watch that exclusive that I had with Stefan Borson, where we spoke in great detail about the case and the potential outcome and what's gone on, basically. So I strongly recommend you go and have a look at that before, because you're going to get a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon now, rival fans jumping on the bandwagon to stick the knife in, City fans claiming they're ITK fans, in the know fans, that they know what they're talking about. No one knows what's going on now. This is going to be an extremely closed shop. You will not get access to this information, so you're going to get a lot of bandwagon jumping, but if you want up-to-date information, on this channel is where you'll find it, and that's where you need to go and have a look at the playlist that's been going on. It's a year-old playlist with so many videos going into the detail of what's gone on. So just to give you a general update, these are charges that have ranged between 2008 to 2019, and again, one of my videos in that playlist highlights that, because as of late, one of the most recent announcements came from Martin Ziegler, who is one of the main journalists to be running with the 115 charges story from the Times. His most recent article on this subject came about, the contract law, Manchester City and the rivals of Manchester City. They have to act quickly. If they want to sue Manchester City and get damages, they have to act quickly because of the contract law in the UK, which deems anything outside of the 6-year limitation of any sort of contract stipulations. Anything outside of that happens after that, it's deemed inadmissible and difficult to act on. So the fact that he brought that to your attention, about a month ago, when I brought it to your attention about a year ago, indicates the level of quality that's going to be put out into that media, because I've done my homework as best as I can, to the best of my very limited, far from an expert, by the way. I am not an expert on this subject, but this information has been readily available for every Manchester City fan and non-Manchester City fan to read. So I suggest you do that before you make up your minds, because I've done that and I've made up my mind. So I think Manchester City are going to be found not guilty in this situation. But to give it you in a nutshell, the charges are failure to provide accurate financial information, failure to provide accurate details for manager payments, in other words, that Mancini contract, failure to comply with UEFA's financial fair play rules, and failure to cooperate with the Premier League's investigation. Now, I need to remind you, by the way, that the burden of proof falls on the Premier League. We do not have to prove innocence, they have to prove guilt. That is the most basic side of this argument that most rival fans completely ignore. Well, if Manchester City is so innocent, why don't they show us the documents? Because we don't have to. Simple as that. We don't have to show you our documents unless you charge us and take us to the courts like this and take us to an independent commission for it to be heard legally, to be heard professionally and under the correct circumstances and in the right forum. Then no. Absolutely not. We will not cooperate with you, and we do not have to prove innocence by any stretch of the imagination. You have to point the finger first. And now the Premier League have done that, we're going to bring an absolute wheelbarrows and wheelbarrows of documents to this court case to prove to you that we are not guilty. And I have every belief that Manchester City will do the job. So City's response at the time was, of course, that famous statement that's being thrown around media all over the place now, which is we have irrefutable evidence. We'll wait and see on that one. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And that the allegations are entirely false. Allegations originally published in German newspaper Der Spiegel came from illegal hacking and out-of-context publication of City emails. And I completely agree. Like I've said, again, point you to my playlist. Have a look at that playlist. Many, many times I've talked about how easy it is to doctor, fabricate emails. Incredibly easy, with no context behind them. Just a snippet of an email proves what exactly? And now I only need to point you to the CAS ruling, which was to do with the UEFA situation. The majority of the panel does not agree with the adjudicatory chamber's statement that in the absence of any evidence produced by the club, the leaked emails are direct evidence that the arrangements were made and implemented. Manchester City Football Club is not charged for attempting to disguise equity funding as sponsorship contributions. It is charged for erroneous reporting of financial information, which requires a completed act. Accordingly, it is for UEFA to prove that the arrangements discussed in the leaked emails were as they appear to be and were indeed executed. UEFA failed to do such a thing. The next point in this outcome from CAS was the majority of the panel finds that the leaked emails by themselves are not sufficient evidence to support a finding that Manchester City Football Club provided incorrect information to UEFA by disguising equity funding as sponsorship contributions. The arrangements discussed must be rooted in contemporaneous accounting of transactional evidence, for otherwise it cannot be ascertained that the arrangements discussed in the leaked emails were in fact executed. The references to the panel in the remaining part of this subchapter are to the majority of the panel only. In other words, the emails meant jack shit and didn't prove anything. And if the Premier League, which I have every belief they are hanging their hat on these leaked emails, like UEFA did, and UEFA failed, then they're going to find themselves in the same situation that UEFA did. Humiliated by little old City coming to the party and saying no to an evil organisation. Once again, saying we are not doing as we're told, and you can think you can tell us what to do, but we are saying no to that, and we're going to prove our case, and I cannot wait. You've only got to look at the recent comments from Javier Tebas from La Liga, of course, stating that everyone wants City to be found guilty. It was fantastic to hear Pep's response to that. He absolutely laughed in the face of Javier Tebas in that situation.
Yeah, maybe he's right.
Do you think that's correct? Do you think he's got a point?
No, for the fact they've played with the Premier League teams and want to be sanctioned, that's for sure. I'm agreeing with Tebas for the first time. Hopefully the last. I'm pretty sure I'm agree with that. So that's why I said Mr. Tebas and the Premier League teams wait. No independent panel, so you know that is the justice is there in the modern democratic countries. So yeah, wait the decision. It's not much complicated than that. So, but I don't know if he's lawyer or all the Premier League teams are lawyers. So what I ask is that is wait. It happens in the UEFA and every time. So we something wrong. We believe we have not done anything wrong. So we go to independent panel, and we are going to wait. Good.
The confidence in Pep Guardiola, who absolutely has Khaldoon Mubarak in his ear, keeping him informed of this situation, and there's no two ways about it. Pep will know the confidence being spread to the club, within the club, to keep the players happy, to keep Pep happy, and to keep a brief understanding of what's going on. And that confidence came oozing out of Pep Guardiola for me. So I have very strong beliefs that Manchester City will find themselves on the right side of this verdict. But you just never know. It is a court case that you just never know. Anything could happen where the tiniest little bit of information could throw this up in the air entirely. But from City's confidence and the fact that we are backed by some of the best lawyers in the world, as are the Premier League, by the way. There is a lot of insinuations that the Premier League have got juniors representing them. Wrong. It's incorrect information. They have absolute legal power, very similar legal power to what Manchester City have. So it's two legal powerhouses going blow for blow here, and Manchester City have every reason to think that it's a fair fight. And it will be a fair fight, and we'll find out the truth once and for all. And the announcement could well go further back to spring of 2025. So that's the announcement, with so much of the information to go through. The hearing's expected to be 8 to 10 weeks. That could then obviously take away the IC, the Independent Commission, then have to go away and read this information and absorb the information and come up with a sanction, which is a whole separate situation. You could hear an announcement going all the way back into spring 2025. And then on top of that, there could well be an appeal, which if Manchester City are found guilty, there will be an appeal. They're guaranteed there will absolutely be an appeal from Manchester City. From the Premier League side, I'm not sure they'll appeal it or not. I have no idea what their preference would be in that situation, but I know for pretty certainly that Manchester City will appeal this situation if we're found guilty. And don't forget, the CAS ruling was an appeal. That was the second point of this of that particular narrative, that Manchester City were found guilty by UEFA. But it was an inappropriate forum for UEFA to find such findings. And then moving forward, we took it to CAS, to an independent panel, and then we were found innocent of all the charges other than failing to cooperate. And that's exactly what I imagine Manchester City will be found guilty of this time, is failing to cooperate. Oh, boo-hoo. We'll get a little slap on the wrist and we'll be told, oh, next time make sure you tell us what your accounts are. And we'll go, well, next time, if you want to start pointing the finger, make sure you get your fucking evidence all in order first. That would be my advice to the Premier League. Oh, Blues, I cannot wait. Get in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. What are your predictions for this case? Are you concerned as a rival fan? Are you concerned as a City fan? Are you confident as a rival fan that we're going to be sent down into oblivion? We're going to say bye-bye to you and we'll be playing football against the likes of Stockport County once again. And I will be there, by the way, like I was last time we faced Stockport County. I will be there, and so will all the rest of us City fans. But get in the comments below and let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silverware.